A tale woven with hate, blood, and rivalry, the story behind one of the most renowned luxury brands in the world. Gucci, celebrated for its exquisite clothing, shoes, and handbags that grace the most prestigious storefronts globally, is built upon a turbulent family saga that ultimately led to tragedy. The genesis of Gucci. The saga of Gucci, a brand at the center of the fierce luxury rivalry between LVMH and Kering, is as dramatic as it is fascinating. But before diving into that conflict, we must first trace the roots of the brand where it all began. Get ready for a story filled with ambition, passion, and betrayal, reminiscent of a real-life soap opera. It all began with Guccio Gucci. Born in Florence in 1881, Guccio's early life was shaped by hardship. His father owned a modest workshop producing straw hats, but the business eventually fell into bankruptcy. At the age of 17, Guccio set off first for Paris and then London, determined to make his own way and gain valuable experience. In London, he worked as a bellboy at the prestigious Savoy Hotel, where he immersed himself in an environment of luxury and sophistication. Surrounded by wealthy elites, he observed their refined tastes, especially their elegant luggage and travel accessories. It was here that his appreciation for quality craftsmanship and opulence took root. After several years abroad, Guccio returned to Italy. At 23, he married Ida Calvelli, a seamstress working in her father's tailoring shop. Together, they had 5 children and one adopted son, Ugo, from Aida's previous relationship. Their children included Grimalda, Enzo, who tragically died at 9, Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo. Among them, Aldo and Rodolfo would later become pivotal figures in the brand's story. Guccio continued to build his expertise, eventually working at Franzi, a prominent leather goods company in Milan, where he quickly rose to the rank of director. His passion for fine leatherwork, reminiscent of the luxurious luggage he had admired at the Savoy, grew stronger. Finally, driven by nostalgia and ambition, he returned to Florence to establish his own business. In 1921, Guccio took a bold step, opening his first leather goods store on Via della Vigna. Funded by his and his wife's savings and a loan, the shop produced trunks and travel bags from imported leather. Over time, the business expanded to include gloves, belts, wallets, and boots, eventually specializing in equestrian accessories. This equestrian influence became a hallmark of the Gucci brand, with motifs like the horse bit and stirrup still serving as iconic symbols today. The business was a family affair, with everyone playing a role. Success led to growth, and a larger production facility was soon established on Via Guicciardini in Florence. However, the 1930s brought challenges. Under Italy's fascist regime, import restrictions made sourcing high-quality leather difficult. Undeterred, Guccio adapted by experimenting with alternative materials like hemp, jute, and linen, choices that ultimately gave Gucci products a distinctive edge. In 1938, Guccio expanded beyond Tuscany, opening a store on Via Condotti in Rome. But the onset of World War II brought hardship. Demand plummeted, and Gucci shops and factories suffered. The company survived by producing shoes and boots for the Italian army. Post-war recovery saw Gucci reorganized as an LLC in 1945. As the business evolved, 3 of Guccio's children departed. Ugo sold his shares for family real estate. Vasco had no heirs, and Grimalda married and distanced herself from the company. This left Aldo and Rodolfo to lead the business, and it was they who persuaded their father to pursue international expansion, setting their sights on America. The 1950s marked Gucci's rise to global prominence. In 1951, Rodolfo opened a store in Milan's prestigious Via Monte Napoleone. In January 1953, the brand crossed borders with a flagship store on New York's Fifth Avenue. Tragically, Guccio never witnessed this milestone. He passed away on January 1953 at the age of 72. His wife, Aida, died 2 years later. The company's shares were divided equally between Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo, while Ugo and Grimalda remained largely excluded. The first family rifts began to surface, initially minor but destined to deepen. During the post-war economic boom, Gucci flourished, introducing the iconic double G logo in tribute to Guccio. Expanding into clothing, the brand earned worldwide fame with products like the bamboo bag, horsebit loafer, and the Flora scarf designed for Grace Kelly. Gucci's reputation soared, embraced by stars like Audrey Hepburn and Jackie Kennedy, whose affinity for the Jackie O bag made it legendary. The 1960s and 1970s saw unprecedented growth. Gucci opened boutiques in London, Palm Beach, Paris, Chicago, Beverly Hills, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. The original Florence factory could no longer meet demand, prompting the opening of a larger facility in Scandicci in the early 70s. But success masked brewing tensions. Aldo and Rodolfo's differing visions for the company created friction. Like their father, Rodolfo prioritized product quality, while Aldo pushed for higher profits and expansion through franchising, a strategy that compromised brand prestige and led to widespread counterfeiting, particularly in Asia. The third generation's involvement only intensified these conflicts. Giorgio, Paolo, and Roberto, Aldo's sons, and Maurizio, Rodolfo's only son, each had their own ambitions and ideas. By 1982, simmering tensions erupted into an all-out family war. What followed was a series of betrayals, lawsuits, and power struggles that would ultimately end in murder. A dark chapter in the legacy of one of the world's most glamorous brands. The family conflict and the murder. In the summer of 1982, tensions within the Gucci family reached a boiling point, culminating in an all-out war. That July, the entire family convened in Florence to deliberate on the company's management. What started as a business discussion quickly spiraled out of control, primarily due to Paolo, Aldo's son. Paolo dropped a bombshell on the family, casually announcing his intention to leave the company and launch his own independent brand, One, that would capitalize on the Gucci name without their consent. The reaction was nothing short of explosive. Harsh words flew, objects were hurled, and before long, the confrontation turned violent. According to various accounts, Paolo was physically assaulted, and at one point, a tape recorder was reportedly thrown at his face. This reckless announcement had serious consequences for Paolo. He was promptly dismissed from the company for unauthorized use of the Gucci brand, a decision that created an irreparable rift between him, his father Aldo, and the rest of the family. Determined to fight back, Paolo initiated a legal battle against his relatives, filing multiple lawsuits across different jurisdictions. One of the most significant was a complaint submitted to the Supreme Court of Manhattan, in which he demanded $2.5 billion in damages. This legal offensive triggered a wave of investigations, dragging nearly every member of the Gucci family into the spotlight. Then came 1983, a year that marked the beginning of even darker days. With the death of Rodolfo, his son Maurizio inherited his father's entire 50% stake in the company. This inheritance made Maurizio the majority shareholder of Gucci's parent company, as Aldo retained 40% and the remaining 10% was distributed among Aldo's other children. But Maurizio wasn't content with just a majority stake, he wanted absolute control. By 1985, leveraging his position, he officially ascended to the role of Gucci's president. Meanwhile, Paolo, having been cast out of the business, saw an opportunity to strike back. He formed an unlikely alliance with his cousin Maurizio, united by their shared animosity toward Aldo. Together, they accused Aldo of financial misconduct, claiming he had embezzled millions from the company and evaded approximately $7 million in taxes. Their allegations led to Aldo's arrest and a subsequent prison sentence of nearly a year in the United States. From this point forward, the power struggle within the Gucci family only grew more convoluted. A tangled web of shifting alliances, stock transfers, and betrayals unfolded among Aldo, his children, and Maurizio, impacting both the parent company and its subsidiaries. Piecing together the intricate details of this corporate and familial warfare would require combing through the archives of Italian newspapers. One such article from 1986 reported that Gucci's parent company, founded by Guccio Gucci, had reached a revenue of 233 billion lire with a net profit of 6.4 billion lire, a testament to the brand's enduring strength despite the internal chaos. Despite everything going on, investigations by various prosecutors against several members of the Gucci family, including Maurizio, continued. Amid the conflicts, legal battles, and escapes, Aldo finally returned to Italy in 1989. But his return only reignited the feud. He couldn't accept his nephew Maurizio as the company's president. More arguments and chaos ensued, but by 1990, after years of struggle, Aldo gave in and sold his shares to the Anglo-Arab investment firm Investcorp International for $135 million. The following year, Aldo passed away from prostate cancer. And despite the gravity of the situation, this marked the perfect moment for Maurizio to act. Already president, he decided to acquire his cousin's shares, becoming the sole family member in charge of the company. At last, he had achieved his goal, complete control over Gucci. But not everything that glitters is gold. Once in power, Maurizio faced a deep crisis. He felt unfit to manage the company, lacking the financial expertise required. In an attempt to overhaul the board of directors, he sought help from his lawyer, Domenico De Sole. An Italian attorney with a Harvard degree, De Sole had been hired in the early 1980s by Rodolfo as the family's legal advisor thanks to his remarkable skills. Rodolfo had even entrusted him with running Gucci America, the company's U.S. subsidiary. After Rodolfo's death, De Sole became Maurizio's right-hand man and a key figure in the company's operations. Yet despite his support, even Maurizio eventually decided to step down. In 1993, he sold his shares to Investcorp International for 270 billion lire. With this move, Investcorp, which had already acquired Aldo's shares, gained full ownership of Gucci, pushing the last remaining family member out of the business. With the proceeds from the sale, Maurizio founded VRC in Milan, a company that planned to open a casino in St. Moritz and build a marina in Palma de Mallorca. The murder. On the morning of March 27, 1995, 47-year-old Maurizio was preparing for his usual walk to his office at VRC's headquarters on Via Palestro 20 in Milan. He left his home, walked to the building and crossed the threshold, but he would never reach his office. That morning, as he entered the building, Maurizio Gucci was assassinated. 4 shots were fired from a silenced Browning 7.65 pistol. The first missed, the second hit his shoulder, the third struck his gluteus, and the fourth, fatal, hit him in the temple. After also killing the building's doorman, the assassin fled in the passenger seat of a Renault Clio. Who killed Maurizio Gucci, the heir to the Florentine dynasty? To understand this, we need to take a step back in time. So far, we've discussed Maurizio's role within the company and his complicated family ties. But what about his private life? It's worth looking at his personal choices to fully grasp the events leading to his murder. Let's go back to the 1970s. In 1970, 22-year-old Maurizio was a shy, introverted, yet incredibly wealthy young man. At a party in Milan, he met Patrizia Reggiani. Patrizia's background was quite different from his. She grew up in poverty, the daughter of a dishwasher who never knew her biological father. Later, she was adopted by her mother's partner, a wealthy transportation entrepreneur. There was an immediate spark between Patrizia and Maurizio. Enchanted by her resemblance to Elizabeth Taylor, Maurizio fell for her despite his father Rodolfo's strong disapproval. Rodolfo considered Patrizia a social climber. Nonetheless, the couple married in 1972. From then on, their life was one of luxury. Penthouses in New York and Milan, extravagant vacations, and Ferraris, nothing was off limits. They even bought a lavish 3-masted 65-meter yacht for 7 billion lire. The marriage produced 2 daughters, Alessandra and Allegra. On the surface, it was a fairy tale, but cracks began to form. When Rodolfo died in 1983, Maurizio inherited his father's 50% stake in Gucci. Despite his wealth, Maurizio had never held significant responsibilities within the company. He was the quintessential pampered heir. Inheriting his father's shares sent him into a crisis of confidence. He knew he wasn't prepared. This insecurity triggered frequent clashes with Patrizia, who tried to push him toward greater ambition and responsibility. Eventually, the marriage fell apart. Their separation left Patrizia with a generous monthly alimony of roughly 1 billion lire, equivalent to over $1.2 million today. But even this staggering sum couldn't soothe her bitterness. Patrizia felt sidelined, both from the business and from the family, a devastating blow for someone who had proudly embraced the title of Lady Gucci. Things only worsened when Maurizio began a relationship with another woman and filed for divorce. Consumed by rage, Patrizia insulted and threatened him, vowing revenge. Most dismissed her outbursts as empty anger, but they weren't. With the help of her confidant and right-hand woman, Pina Auriemma, Patrizia hired a killer to carry out her plan. And on that fateful morning of March 27, 1995, she finally got her revenge. The legal battle between LVMH and Kering. Though Maurizio's life ended, the story of the Gucci company did not. By 1993, Investcorp fully owned the brand, but the company was struggling. Gucci products remained outdated and exorbitantly priced, and poor financial management had taken a toll. That year, the company posted a loss of $22 million. This is where Domenico De Sole re-entered the picture. Having played a crucial role in the Investcorp negotiations, he was appointed CEO of Gucci's parent company in 1994. That same year, De Sole appointed a young Texan designer, Tom Ford, as the brand's creative director. Together, they breathed new life into the company. Ford's bold, sophisticated designs modernized Gucci's image, while De Sole focused on financial recovery and management restructuring. He scaled back licensing agreements, franchises, and secondary lines, concentrating on iconic products. By doubling production and lowering prices, he made Gucci's offerings more accessible. Major investments in brand promotion and management overhaul soon paid off. By 1995, Gucci reported record profits of $83 million on $500 million in revenue. To accelerate growth, Investcorp listed Gucci on the New York and Amsterdam stock exchanges in 1995. Over the next 2 years, the firm sold all its shares, earning nearly $2 billion after investing just $400 million to acquire the company. With Gucci now a publicly traded company led by De Sole and Ford, stability seemed within reach. But calm rarely lasted in the Gucci saga. Enter Bernard Arnault, the French tycoon behind LVMH, the world's largest luxury conglomerate. Throughout the 1980s, Arnault had focused on luxury, laying the groundwork for his empire. Spotting an opportunity in Gucci's public listing, Arnault began acquiring shares. By 1999, LVMH controlled 34.4% of Gucci's capital. Alarmed, De Sole and Ford feared a hostile takeover. Desperate, they turned to another French business magnate, François Pinault. Pinault's company, PPR, operated primarily in retail through department stores like Printemps. Though PPR had no prior foothold in the luxury sector, Pinault recognized Gucci's potential and seized the opportunity. In 1999, PPR swiftly acquired 42% of Gucci for nearly $3 billion, blocking LVMH's advance. This move ignited a fierce rivalry between Pinault and Arnault, transforming their once friendly relationship into a high-stakes legal and business battle. Accusing PPR of illegal tactics, Arnault sued, claiming Gucci's issuance of new shares, a strategy called a poison pill used to dilute LVMH's stake to 20%, violated fair play. The ensuing legal war stretched on for 2 years until 2001, when LVMH finally agreed to sell its Gucci shares to PPR, making Pinault's company the brand's principal shareholder. Over the following years, PPR evolved into Kering, with leadership passing to François-Henri Pinault. Today, Kering is the world's second largest luxury group after LVMH. Gucci remains its crown jewel, generating over $10 billion in revenue by 2022, half of Kering's total business. Had De Sole and Tom Ford not sought Pinault's intervention, none of this would have happened. Kering might never have risen to prominence, and the House of Gucci could have disappeared entirely. The member remains involved with the brand. The heirs of Gucci have only their last name left. Perhaps things would have turned out differently had the family remained united. And so, the story of Gucci, a tale of power, betrayal, glamour, and tragedy, comes to an end, at least for the family. The brand lives on, stronger than ever. But the Guccis themselves, they've been left with nothing but a name. What do you think? Was it greed, ambition, or fate that tore this dynasty apart? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories.